Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I never thought I'd be involved in something like this, but here I am, watching my best friend take on a local TikTok bully. It's crazy how life can throw you curveballs, right? I mean, one minute you're just living your life and the next you're caught up in some social media drama that feels like it belongs in a teen movie. But this isn't fiction, this is real life, and it's happening to people I care about. Let me start from the beginning. My best friend, let's call her Sarah, has always been the sweetest person you could ever meet. She's got a heart of gold, always seeing the best in people, even when they don't deserve it. But life hasn't always been easy for her. Sarah struggled with an eating disorder for years. It started when we were kids. She was always a bit heavier than the other girls in our class, and you know how cruel kids can be. The teasing, the whispers, the sidelong glances, it all took its toll. I watched as my vibrant, funny friend slowly retreated into herself, becoming quieter and more withdrawn with each passing year. As we got older, things got worse. Sarah's relationship with food became increasingly complicated. She'd go through phases of barely eating anything, then binging in secret. It was heartbreaking to watch, and I felt so helpless. I tried to be there for her, but it's hard to know what to say or do when someone you love is hurting themselves. But then, a few years ago, something changed. Sarah decided she'd had enough of letting her insecurities control her life. She started working out not to lose weight but to get strong. She became obsessed with weightlifting, spending hours at the gym every day. And you know what? It worked, not just physically, but mentally too. As Sarah got stronger, she also got more confident. She started to see food as fuel for her workouts rather than the enemy. She even became a personal trainer, using her own experiences to help others who were struggling with their body image. It was like watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon. My friend was back, stronger and more beautiful than ever. A big part of Sarah's transformation was meeting this guy, Tom. He was different from any guy she'd dated before. He didn't care about her weight or how she looked in a bikini. He cared about her, the real her. He encouraged her to eat properly, to fuel her body for her workouts. He celebrated her strength gains more than any changes in her appearance. With Tom by her side, Sarah finally felt confident enough to have a healthy relationship with food and her body. Everything was going great. Sarah was happy, healthy, and helping others. But then Charles came along and threatened to undo all of her hard work. Charles is this guy from our town who thinks he's hot stuff because he's got a bunch of followers on TikTok. I've known him since high school, and let me tell you, he's always been a jerk. He's the kind of guy who thinks being mean is the same as being funny. He's got all these outdated, sexist ideas about how women should look and act, and don't even get me started on some of the racist stuff he said. But somehow, he's managed to build this online persona where people think he's cool and edgy. I warned Sarah about Charles when I first saw them talking at the gym. I told her, "Sarah, that guy is bad news, he's not worth your time." But Sarah, being Sarah, felt bad for him. She noticed that he didn't seem to have any real friends at the gym, always working out alone, and looking kind of lost between sets. "Everyone deserves a chance," she told me. "Maybe he's just misunderstood. I should have pushed harder, should have made her see what kind of person Charles really was. But I didn't want to be that overprotective friend, you know. So I backed off, hoping that Sarah's kindness wouldn't backfire on her. For a while, things seemed okay. Sarah would chat with Charles at the gym, spotting him on lifts or giving him tips on his form. She even invited him to join our group for post-workout smoothies a few times. And I'll admit, he seemed to be on his best behavior around her. He was still Charles, still making inappropriate jokes and saying things that made me cringe, but he toned it down a bit. But then things started to change. It was subtle at first. Charles would make little comments about Sarah's body, always framed as jokes or constructive criticism. He'd say things like, "Wow, Sarah, you're looking kind of thick today. Better watch those protein shakes," or "Are you sure you want to eat that? I thought you were trying to lean out." I could see the effect these comments were having on Sarah. The confidence she'd worked so hard to build was starting to crumble. She started skipping meals again, pushing herself harder at the gym. Tom noticed it too, and we were both worried. The final straw came last week. Sarah had just finished a particularly grueling workout and was treating herself to a well-deserved protein bar. Charles sauntered over, that smug grin on his face, and said loud enough for half the gym to hear, "Whoa, Sarah, I thought you were a personal trainer, not a professional eater. Might want to ease up on the snacks there, Chunky." The gym went silent. I saw Sarah's face crumple, saw the tears welling up in her eyes. Before I could react, she'd grabbed her bag and run out of the gym. I wanted to go after her, but first, I had some choice words for Charles. I won't repeat what I said here, but let's just say it involved a lot of swear words and some creative suggestions about where he could stick his TikTok followers. He just laughed it off like it was all a big joke. I found Sarah in the parking lot, sitting in her car and crying. It broke my heart to see her like that, to see all her progress threatened by one insensitive jerk. We talked for hours that night, and I reminded her of how far she'd come, how strong she was both physically and mentally. You can't let him win, I told her. You can't let him drag you back to that dark place. Sarah nodded, wiping away her tears. You're right, she said. I'm not that scared, insecure girl anymore. I'm stronger now. And that's when she came up with the idea for the TikTok video. Now, I'm not usually one for social media drama. I think most of it is pretty childish, to be honest. But in this case, I was all for it. Charles had been using his platform to tear people down for too long. It was time someone stood up to him. Sarah spent the next few days planning her video. She gathered screenshots of Charles's most offensive posts, recordings of some of the awful things he'd said at the gym, and testimonials from other people he'd bullied. She even managed to get her hands on some old posts of his that he'd deleted, where he'd fat-shamed other women or made racist comments. The video itself was simple but powerful. Sarah stood in front of the camera looking strong and confident in her workout gear. She started by talking about her own journey, about overcoming her eating disorder and learning to love her body. Then she transitioned into talking about Charles. This is the kind of behavior that perpetuates eating disorders, she said, her voice steady and clear. This is the kind of thinking that makes people hate themselves, that makes them hurt themselves, and it needs to stop. She went through all the evidence she'd gathered, systematically exposing Charles for the bully he was. But what really got me was the end of the video. To anyone out there who's been hurt by comments like these, who's struggling with their body image or their relationship with food, I want you to know something, Sarah said. Looking directly into the camera, you are strong. You are beautiful. You are worthy of love and respect. No matter what size you are or what you look like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I was there when she posted the video, and let me tell you, it was nerve-wracking. Sarah's hands were shaking as she hit the post button. We sat there staring at her phone, watching as the views started to tick up. At first, nothing much happened. The video got a few hundred views, mostly from Sarah's regular followers. But then something amazing happened. It started to go viral. People were sharing it left and right. Comments were pouring in, most of them supportive. Women were sharing their own stories of being bullied or fat-shamed. Men were chiming in too, talking about the pressure they felt to look a certain way. It was like Sarah had opened a floodgate of pent-up emotions and experiences. And Charles, well, let's just say his reaction wasn't pretty. He tried to play it off at first, posting a video where he laughed about the whole thing, and called Sarah oversensitive. But people weren't buying it. His followers started dropping off in droves. Other influencers started calling him out. Within a day, he'd set his account to private and disappeared from the gym. It's been a week now since Sarah posted that video, and things are still crazy. She's been interviewed by local news stations, invited onto podcasts to talk about body positivity and eating disorder recovery. Her follower count has exploded, but more importantly, she's using her new platform to spread a message of self-love and acceptance. As for me, I'm just proud to call her my friend. Watching her stand up to Charles, watching her turn her pain into something positive, it's been inspiring. And I've learned something too. I've learned that sometimes being kind doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stand up to bullies, not just for yourself, but for everyone else they might hurt. Sarah's back at the gym now, stronger than ever. And every time I see her lift those weights or encourage one of her clients, I'm reminded of how far she's come. She took on the local TikTok bully and won, not by stooping to his level, but by rising above it and showing everyone the amazing person she is. I don't know what the future holds for Sarah or for any of us really, but I do know one thing: if more people were like her, if more people stood up to bullies and spread messages of love and acceptance, the world would be a much better place. And that's something worth fighting for, one TikTok video at a time.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.